Hi, I'm Ardith, and today we're talking about 2 easy techniques for stamping personalized backgrounds that will make the recipients know you were thinking of them when you made their card. Any stamp can be a background stamp, and I don't mean just stamping a dot multiple times. I'm talking about images, words, numbers, even alphabets. I've got 2 easy techniques, and throughout the video I'll show you lots of ways to change them up for even more customization. My first technique uses a MISTI, but if you don't have one, don't worry. Just stick around because I'll be showing a way to get the same look without the tool in a couple of minutes. I'm making a 4 1/4 inch square card, and I've grabbed a piece of acetate in the same size and I placed it in the corner of my MISTI. I'm using a Sharpie and the grid line measurements to divide the acetate into 4 equal parts. This acetate will be my guide for lining up my stamps, and I'm going to start with the fiddliest part of this card, which is adding my daughter's name, Kate. I want to use this gorgeous new lovely letters set from Concord and 9th, which gives a really neat hand-lettered look, but it means that I have to stamp one letter at a time to allow for the excess photopolymer around the letters and also so that they join up seamlessly. I start with the K and I put it down on the acetate. I pick it up with the MISTI door, ink it up with VersaFine Onyx ink and stamp it down. Then I turn the square panel and stamp it again, and again, and again, until all 4 quadrants are done. This is the basic technique, using the MISTI to turn the panel and form a pattern by repeating the stamping. I grab the A and I repeat, lining it up where I want it and repeating the stamping and turning. If you use a different alphabet that doesn't need the letters to be joined up like this one, you can put them all down together. Next, T, and finally the E. It took some effort, but I think the final look was worth the extra time. Once her name was done, I put the acetate back in place over the panel. This allows me to now fill in the quadrant with lots of other small stamps, including her birth date, a little "It's Your Special Day" sentiment, some stars and hearts, a tiny 18, and finally some little festive streamers. We all have a million little stamps. This is a great opportunity to mix and match companies and get more out of our stamps. You can go through and choose stamps that are meaningful for the card's recipient. I place the elements facing all 4 directions so that when I turn the panel, each time there will be something that's facing the correct way. If you're using an alphabet that doesn't need to be joined up, you can place it down at this point with all the stamps and just do it all at once. I used my craft pick to help me place the stamps, but the fact that the acetate is there means that not only are you remembering to stay within that quadrant boundary, but also once they're down, they'll kind of stick to it without marking your panel or falling over. I left the top left corner of the quadrant empty because my plan is to put a big die-cut 18 in the center of my card. Once you have them arranged how you like, pick everything up with the MISTI door and stamp it in the first corner. Then, just like I did with Kate's name before, turn and stamp, turn and stamp, turn and stamp until everything's filled in. To add some color, I cut a big circle mask and used some temporary adhesive to adhere it to the panel, and I swinked some ink on the edges. If you don't know what swinking is, it's just a fancy made-up word for swiping ink directly onto your card. I've linked a video above showing 16 ways to use this technique. My 18 is cut from some Avery Elle dies, and I stacked up 5 layers of black cardstock to make them really stand out. Once I glued them in place, I added some Nouveau Crystal glaze over top to give them a puffy, shiny look, and I sprinkled some iridescent glitter on top. This will settle into the glaze and it really adds a fun, festive look. One final little tip. I keep the acetate guide right in my MISTI behind my mouse pad so I can use it again. This turning method will only work with a square panel, but you can stamp a bigger square and then cut it down to the size of card you want, even if it's a rectangle. And yes, I personalized Kate's card with her name, but you don't have to. Any small stamps will work. Speaking of which, the second technique is for a rectangle card, with outline stamps and without a MISTI. Here I taped off a portion of my acetate block, using the grid to create a rectangle that's about 1/4 of the size of my white panel. Then I filled in the space with little stamps. One tip is to try and choose images with a similar line width for a more unified look. This time I chose birthday-themed images, including a penguin with a hat, a balloon, a cake, a little flower, and a rainbow. I placed them on the block, trying to achieve a more random look by tilting them back and forth rather than having everything all lined up. Remember, this time you need to put the stamps with their backs down on the block, since you'll be turning it over to stamp. To get a look at the mirror image, you can flip your block over and look through it if you want. Make any little adjustments and then you're ready to start stamping. This time I used Gina K amalgam ink, which is Copic friendly, since I'll be coloring the images. I stamped it down in the top left corner, then I turned it 90 degrees and stamped it in the top right corner, off the edge. Going off the edge helps to make the pattern look more random and continuous. Then I kept inking and stamping and turning, working my way down the panel and filling it in until it was all covered. Lining up the grid on the block with the edges of your panel makes it easy to eyeball the straightness of your stamping, and it doesn't really matter if you're off a bit. This is a really easy way to create what looks like a randomly stamped background without having to worry about spacing between the images or whether you have too many of one or the other, like you would if you stamped each one on its own. Next comes a whole lot of Copic coloring, which I've cut down and sped up since this video isn't really about coloring, and I kept it really simple. If you love making backgrounds, today's your day, because there are 5 of us with back-to-back background techniques, ranging from stamping to inking to mixed media, something for everyone, and maybe the exact inspiration you need to try something new. I'll have links to everyone in the description below for you, and we all hope that you'll hop along and enjoy everything we have to share with you. You don't have to color everything either. You could leave portions black and white and just add color in selective areas for a more dramatic look. I think the ability to personalize the cards we make is one of the best parts of card making. However you do it, this is one of those easy techniques that can be adapted in so many ways, and you'll get amazing, customized results every time. Now it's time to click right here and hop to Karen, who's creating bokeh effect backgrounds by using a simple technique with her gel plate that will amaze you. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bokeh, 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 bouquet, bouquet.